Hey family, it's Rooted in Faith, Rising in Freedom. This is for those who feel the odds are stacked against them, the ones who feel outnumbered, overlooked, or outpowered. I'm reminding you, God and you are an army, not just a test of faith, but also a message to the enemy. So I don't know who needs to hear this, but it feels like somebody's feeling overwhelmed on something. So it came to mind, and so I wanted to speak on it. What came to mind was Judges 7. Gideon started with 32,000 men in his army. He thought he was set, but God said, nah, that's too many. It was to test the faith of the Israelites at first. However, it took on another meaning altogether. So Gideon did what he was instructed to do. He reduced the army by a certain amount, and each time God said, nah, that's still too many. And Gideon, sweating, nervous, anxious probably, continued to reduce his army until he reduced it to just 300. Why? Because God didn't want the victory credited to his people, the people of Israel. He wanted to let the world know that it was divine power. With 300 men, torches, trumpets, and faith, Gideon's army brought down not thousands, but hundreds of thousands. Just 300 men against hundreds of thousands of armed soldiers. They didn't even lift one sword. Their enemies turned on themselves. It was confusion, chaos, and divine justice all at once. So when God is with you, the math doesn't really matter. It just matters is that your faith is, as long as you know God's with you, that's all that matters. Maybe you're facing people with powerful positions or in powerful positions. Maybe they have money, status, influence, and connections. Maybe they've come together to block your path, tear down your name, your character, and assassinate your character, or shut down doors in your face. But it doesn't matter either. Now when God steps in, he will confuse their plans. He will use what looks like weakness to showcase his strength. And he will turn the same system they use against you and others against them. And that's what I love about it. So just like in 1 Corinthians 1:27 says, but God chooses the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. God chooses the weak things of the world to shame the strong. Just like David, he wasn't even a man yet. He's just a little boy. And the armor that he tried to put on didn't even fit him. It was oversized for him, and it was heavy. So he just took that down and just took his slingshot like a little kid. It went out in the battlefield when all the big old Israel army was hiding behind their little barricades. Here's little David, little scrawny kid probably, and just with his little slingshot and a couple rocks. He brought down a big old battle-hardened giant. Not with brute strength, but with faith, precision, and divine backing. That's all that is all what was required of David, is just to believe. David believed. He was a little young boy. He was in charge of, shepherding a bunch of flock of sheep. It wasn't even seen as like prestigious, task to do, but he was out there by himself, guarding sheep against wolves and bears and lions even. So to him, the big old giant wasn't any different than the bear or the lion. He's like, what are you guys scared of? I'm just looking at it from that point of view. It's like, here are these grown-ass men behind a barricade, scared of this one big giant, and here's little old David with his slingshot, and he takes down this giant. Imagine the humiliation after that. God has a pattern. I noticed in a lot of the stories, he chooses the underestimated or the underdog, to humble the arrogant. It's not just a battle, it's a spiritual humbling. It's a spiritual, like, kind of like throwing shade to the enemies. Like, you come at us with, there's all this fancy stuff and sophisticated, technology, and, and you have all these people, this army and whatever, and then you get taken down by one little person. So it's a spiritual humbling to those who thought they were untouchable. So if it feels like the world is against you, or you feel some things overwhelming, just take a step back, ask God, and just like little David, just have faith, and look back of all the times in your life where God stepped in and humbled the arrogant in your own life, and use that. Remember that it only takes one with God to overcome many. God's about to show something. He's not finished, and he didn't bring you this far just to let the enemy have the final say. Stand still and watch him move. All right, we'll talk soon.